D&D, Elden Ring. Two very expansive games, and I decided to put those two together. Hey everybody, and welcome into the channel. My name is ZaDa, and I've just sunk about 100 hours into Google Sheets. The idea of making this kind of project has been around for quite a bit, and I mean, I've been a huge fan of Elden Ring since it came out, but another huge thing that kind of reinforced that was my friend group, and they are heavily into D&D. They introduced me to Critical Role, and that led me to watching Vox Machina.
Girl gets base buddies.
And basically my timeline just got super soaked with a bunch of things D&D related, whether that was another group like Legends of Evantris or people showcasing their tabletop setups, little do-it-yourself projects, stamps, 3D prints, whatever. But one thing that really got me hyped was Critical Role. They made a one-shot campaign for Elden Ring. Seeing that that was possible and having this homebrew system led me on this path of like, I really want to have this project go through. So that's where I'm at here today. With that being said, I would like to show you what 100 hours has gotten me so far. Unfortunately, this isn't fully completed yet, and I'm still learning as I go. I'm picking up little tips and tricks as I go on that, and I'm still also learning how D&D functions, because my experience with that was half of a one-shot campaign. Aside from that, there was my true first time was online with some different people that I met from Overwatch, and they structured together a thing on the tabletop simulator. But with friends, I've done half of a one-shot campaign. And of course, I chose a barbarian because big stick, big damage. Simple as that. But with this, I tried to stick as close as I could to the 5th edition player handbook. I do have plans, however, to go towards other things. So whether that be where other classes are, I have a system on this side. Here we go. I have a system to where I can use all of these other roles from like Xanathar's Guide to Everything and Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Just all these different areas where I can make more characters and more classes, more subclasses, etc. So that's something in the later future, but I still plan on doing that at some point. But with this, the general area is this section right here. This will have, up in this top left section, kind of a guide to get you through where you need to go and what you need to do. But where I'm going to kind of steer your attention is at the class section right here. Anything underlined has a link that goes somewhere. So whether that's the spells that go to specific D&D and Elden Ring based sites, or these class things that make your character, all of that has some sort of link that you can follow along in that case too. So with the class, you end up going into a wheel of names. And so with that, in my runs that I plan on doing, and this series that I plan on going through, is doing every single class and subclass available within the 5th edition handbook and randomly selecting what I do. So in this case, if I were to be going through a run, I would be going through a Wizard's School of Transmutation. Unfortunately, I don't have that done just yet. That's still a work in progress. For now, we're going to use Barbarian because that's just what came up first alphabetically, and is something that I do have done. Granted, there is a slight old system that's still in play there, and I plan on updating that soon, but it is at least finished. So in this section here, we can go through our different classes. We can choose whatever one. Let's just say if I were to choose Bard, well, any of these here, honestly, anything that is highlighted in blue is something that your class can do. So if I go to Bard, anything in these skills or anything in your saving throws, anything in your armor and weapons, and also your hit dice calculator, all of those are formatted in here, so you don't have to look things up. You don't have to figure things out, especially for me, because I'm constantly having to do challenge to challenge to challenge and moving the different characters through. So Barbarian, you can see up top, this already shows the Totem Warrior, and I'll go over that in just a little bit. But next we have our background. It's got the same thing. It's got the wheel of names, and you can choose whatever background you are. So same thing with how the class works, but with your background, you get to use anything that's in green. Mainly just going to affect the skills, and that's fine. And that's something I'll touch on here in a little bit, is the skills side of things. Moving on though, we also have an ending and a keepsake wheel of names. And so what that'll do is you can randomly select or choose what you want to for what you have available to you. So if I wanted to actually go through the Age of the Stars ending for Elden Ring, I will do that for these runs. I'm doing this though because it makes everything feel fresh, and I have to do something in a specific way. Otherwise I have to reset. And that's part of my challenge for things, having to complete these runs in a set specific way based off of what campaign or one shot that I have. Same thing with, again, the keepsake, Wheel of Names, or you can come spin the wheel and see where it lands. Race is going to be another specific thing that it's kind of crucial for this. Again, Wheel of Names, or you can choose what you want, and what you pick chooses what certain stat buffs that you get, which go up here. These are your race buffs. So if I were to choose, instead of a dwarf, or like a mountain dwarf, and I choose something different, I would then get different skills or different ability scores. Those ability scores from what you implement in here, and that's something I failed to say in the beginning, but you roll for your stats just like you normally would in D&D. You place those ability scores there. Your race buff automatically gets placed here, so you don't have to worry about it, and they convert over towards this right side where your final ABS score is, or ability score. Now with that, you'll notice that some things are marked in yellow. This hit dice is from your hit dice calculator, and I will go over that in just a little bit. But for arcane in Elden Ring, there wasn't a way to really convert that. So what I did was I took your wisdom, int, and charisma scores. I took those, divided by 3 and -1, just to kind of give it a little bit of a fair shake. And you don't need much arcane, honestly. So now that's how that's fixed on there, and you don't have to worry about that roll at all. Once you're done with that, you can actually go to your skills. Depending on what level you are, which is right here, is what your proficiency bonus can be. So, and that is figured out by this bottom left piece right here. This D&D to Elden Ring conversion, it takes your top levels from both of those games and it divides them from each other. So Elden Ring divided by D&D equals 35 levels, or about 35 levels. We'll note that at level 3, which is usually where people land whenever they do their first character, is at around that level, is at around like 107. I finished at around 115, but there are other things that I still have to do, such as my character tabs and stuff like that, which I will get into in just a little bit. Now, with your class and with your race, you also get to see what simple and martial weapons and what kinds of armor, and if you can use a shield for this. That all changes dynamically with what you choose or what is chosen for you, which that is super, super cool on that end. It keeps things random and it keeps you informed of what you can do. Same aspect for that is your starting weapons and gear. That is automatically calculated based off of your class. So if I was a fighter, I have these options here. And how that's going to go for my challenge runs, just so that's announced, is I'm using the Hexington Elden Ring cheat table. So I start automatically with those things, and that way I can be on New Game Plus. The reason I'm doing that is New Game, or for Elden Ring rather, it goes and scales all the way up to a +7. After that, it does not matter. So I take the highest and just divide how many levels Elden Ring has. So 713 divided by 7, it should technically be 8, but I'm making it simple for the sake of like, hey, I know I'm not going to play the base game. So I will be in New Game +1 for this. So that way I am considered like a lower level character, a level 3 kind of a character. And that leads to a character level up system, which again, I will talk about here in just a little bit. There's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to talk about within such a short time, but I am excited to share this with you, even though it's still within the works and will eventually be released potentially at a later time. We'll see. But going on, we have the feat selection. With that, depending on your class, each class has a specific threshold you have to meet. Barbarian specifically, you have to be at least level 4 to get an ability improvement or ability score improvement, which is located on the character specific thing, or you can use a feat. With that, you can go through here, you can choose which ones. You can see what stat increases you'll get, but on some of them, you'll also get an ability score improvement or maybe certain items, which again, reinforces why I have to use a cheat table for some of this, because if I get it, then I get it. That's just kind of how I figured this would work. Now, there are some things where it's like maybe certain spells, I don't just automatically acquire. I have to go out and find them. But whenever I'm starting with a base character at the beginning, I will get only the things that I have for that time, for starting out. Anything past that, so if I do level up, I have to go and acquire. There is maybe a caveat to that where I think it's with Rogue, or no, it's with Paladin, I believe, where I use an Ash of War. And that is specifically found in, I believe, the Shadow of the Erd Tree DLC. With my challenge runs, I am doing only base game until later I will incorporate maybe Shadow of the Erd Tree only, having done both, and then also whenever I do stuff to the other player handbooks as well. With that being said, we can then move on to our weapons tab. Essentially, this is pretty much just a pretty catalog for you to view what weapons that there are and where things go. So if you do maybe a different type of game system where you are doing a one-shot Elden Ring campaign like Critical Role did, you can see where everything is located on here and you don't have to worry about it, which is kind of nice. So with this though, we have everything that can convert to D&D 5e over on the left side here. And then we have a homebrew system. This homebrew system is going to be stuff like your backhand blades, claws, fist, great katanas, and there is a thing in here called light great swords. Now it's kind of contradictory because it's like, is it a great sword? Is it not? You know, it really depends. So I just put it on its own special list for things. Other stuff including like your perfume bottles and your twin blades. Those don't function in D&D normally. So I have them homebrewed, and I also have them separated via DLC and non-DLC, which is just located by the darker hue. So again, pretty catalog. View it at your own discretion if you want to see how certain things are met. And it's also a good reminder if you're mid-run and you want to know, hey, I just obtained this, can I actually use it? It just gives you kind of a reference that you can look things up at. Next is armor. This is more than a pretty catalog, and up in the top left, you'll have a class selection. Same what you had on your general side of things, but this case, if I were to choose Barbarian, it shows every single armor set that I can use. Or in the case that you're a monk doesn't technically get any armor, even light armor, but for the sake of people that want fashion and actually having clothes on their body, I have some clothes that are on there that I don't think consider or count to be armor, so to speak. It is just the run-of-the-mill t-shirt and cloth, etc. The character level up system is something that'll definitely help you out later on, just when you get further into your games. Just because, yeah, you might have some equipment that you can't use, or you're getting your ass, you're not having a good day. This forces you to journey and explore areas that you've either never seen before, you visited once in a great moon, and you haven't explored there since. This just forces you to go into those areas and take these small side quests, helping give a better experience to your overall run. So with it though, it is game specific. And what I mean by that is base only, Shadow of the Erd Tree only, and base and Shadow of the Erd Tree. So if you plan on tackling the whole challenge run, it is dynamic in the fact that your threshold changes depending on what you choose. Though I have things marked here, it's not actually calculating that. It's only going to calculate if you do stuff for your Shadow of the Erd Tree bosses. Now, with it, I'll have to change that real quick. But with it, once you hit the threshold, you are given a level. And again, going back to what we mentioned on our conversion, one D&D level is 35 Elden Ring levels. You can then take whatever you earn here. Let's just say, oh, I'm going to do all of it to strength. I mistyped 36. It's going to show you have to take away some stuff. So whatever you do on here, let's just say I add 10 strength, 10 dex, 10 intelligence, and 5 arcane. We can go back to our general character tab and it automatically applies those stats in our modifier section. So it's already done for you. You don't have to re-add things or reset these different stuff, etc. After that, we get to go to our classes. And so the first one I'm going to show you is Barbarian. And we have the different archetypes, or in this case, primal paths. This, I decided to do the Totem Warrior just to give it a try. Each of these sections here will give you specific Elden Ring stats. And I actually made it to where every class, no matter what path you take, will give you an additional 12 Elden Ring stats total. So you don't have to worry about one being higher than the other, because some give other things like Ashes of War, or maybe they give you different spells or just different things like that to help complete the conversion from D&D to Elden Ring. You'll notice that there are some highlighted sections showcasing what level you are. Depending on what it shows here is all the stats that it's actually going to give you. So if I were to actually do Berserker, it's only going to give me 2 additional Elden Ring strength levels, and that is all factored here. You can change that however you want. A lot of things are going to be just hidden underneath this. This is the pretty side of things where I want you to focus. These stats do not happen unless you check the box. Speaking of checking the box, whenever you check a box on an archetype, whether it be on a bard, cleric, druid, whatever, it will reference that on the general tab. This is one of my systems that helps detect if you still have something active, so that way you don't accidentally boost your stats whenever you're going from character to character. I have another system that implements something like that, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, because that's something I found out when making a bard, and I will explain that headache in just a second. We have some things that are the same, and obviously things that have changed on this, because now we're entering the realm of spellcasters. So same core principle here, where depending on your level is what stats that you acquire, but once you reach level 6, you get the additional magic secrets perk that's unlocked to you. So that'll allow you to choose 2 spells from any class is what it was saying. So I put down any of the spells equal to, I think it's level 3 and below, including cantrips. So you can actually use those as well, which is nice. And they count, I believe, as bard things, or it doesn't count towards your thing at all. Later on, levels 10, 14, and 18, that's overall for the entire bard. So same thing though, but with expertise, this is general. This is over on the 3rd level here for the feats, skills, and improvements, and there's a note for that. But essentially, you get to choose 2 skills, and they get a bonus proficiency score with it. I had to figure out a system for that specifically. And boy, oh howdy did I do that, because up there at that top section, that is everything that I had to filter through. And I also made a dynamic table, so you also see what specific skills that you are proficient in at that time. For instance, if you were to be level 3, you'd have some of your base stats that you would already have there, what you've chosen. But if you went to do the feat improvement and rather than your ability score improvement, and you chose skilled, you would have more skills acquired to you. So you'd have a lot more options to use for whenever you're level 10. There's all these different caveats, all these different things I tried to think of ahead of time, so that way it's set for you and how you want to play your characters, and for whenever I'm also doing these characters, again, for those challenge runs in the future, the near future, I should say. On the spell tab, it is definitely a lot more than a catalog, because it has all these functions and you can do everything as far as changing which character you are, the top section being D&D converted spells, and the bottom section being homebrew, what I thought would be added to each character as well. If you ever wanted to change that, well, you can look at, where is it? This, and this, and this, and this, and this. It took me so long for this. Did you know that there are 324 spells in Dungeons and Dragons? I did not. I also didn't know that there was 214 spells in Elden Ring. The more you know. But for the most part, this is where you check out what spells you can use during your runs. Some casters have less and some casters have more, way more. But what I would do is I would also reference your character tab, specifically like going into Cleric. Cleric has all different types of knowledge domains that you go into. And with that, there's different types of spells that you can use. And this is work in progress. I don't have anything here just yet, but whenever it's done and you click on your specific knowledge domain, it's going to tell the general character tab, hey, I am a knowledge domain cleric. And then it's also going to showcase what types of spells that you get. Druids, somewhat of a similar vibe to the other casters, but Circle of Land is where that's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to have to put something in there. I don't know how I'm going to integrate that specifically. But still a work in progress. And right now it's just a cardboard blanket fort for the time being. We have the fighter. They have the fighting style, which that's something I'm going to have to look further into to see how I'm going to actually integrate that into Elden Ring and see how I'm going to actually make certain characters with that. This role is definitely going to be one that I'll have maybe some of the most fun with. One, there is an Eldritch Knight, which includes spells, but it is going to give me something to look forward to on how different of a character I can make, even though it's the same class. You know, that's the biggest part of D&D for one, is the diversity in which you can make your characters, but in Elden Ring as well. Again, 2 very expansive games, and we get to do so much with this. Monks, I don't know what I'm gonna do with the dice roll martial arts thing. Like, I even have it noted, like, I have no idea what I'm going to do with this or how it's going to convert. The other project is going to be the Way of the Four Elements. Elemental discipline is something I'm going to have to look at how that's maybe utilized or shown, and just, again, work in progress, but we will make it through it at some point in time. If you haven't already done so, leaving some comments would help me determine how I can do these things, because I am still new at this for D&D. So any comments, any support, Definitely appreciated. Paladins, they are very similar to that of a cleric on how they're going to show you your spells based on what level you can actually get them at as well. So check your character tab specific for this one as well, but you can also check the spells tab to see just a general line of what they kind of get. Rangers, same boat. Fighting style included. This one's going to be kind of the easiest for things. They have the least amount of spells, which I'm happy about. And it's just kind of determining how I want to integrate or give certain buffs and stat bonuses to. So, but next we have the rogue. Sneak attack system is kind of like the monk. I don't know how I'm going to integrate that specifically. So that's something that I'm maybe going to lean towards and look at the comments for that. The thief side of things is going to be pretty easy. Arcane trickster is definitely doable. The assassin is something I don't know how I'm going to do. It talks about using a disguise kit and stuff like that, which we do have a mimic veil, so maybe I just do some sort of like Mission Impossible theme or whatever for that. Sorcerers, you guys suck. You're definitely unique. The biggest part of this, I should say, minus the page that you spawned in with, is how to actually integrate the evocations. That is going to take some definite planning and reworking to definitely integrate that in, if that is possible. I know that's maybe a big part of it with how your sorcery points work and stuff like that, but eventually that will also get done. That is something I will need help on for sure. Warlocks. Warlocks are... Did I mix up warlocks? And I think I mixed up warlocks and sorcerers. My bad. But something I'm going to be planning on, something that I'll be working on, and we'll be able to hopefully get that done sometime at the end of this week, maybe next. Then wizards. Wizard. You have the most spells and the most schools. You're at the bottom of the list for a reason. Thankfully, all your spells are already sorted out thanks to that spell tab. And that, again, took 17 hours to make. That was everything, though. I plan on completing this spreadsheet within a week or so, like I mentioned. That way I can work on those challenge runs, and those will actually be held live on Twitch. I have a link in the description for that. And while you're down there, though, there's links to my other socials, which I plan on being active on as well, whether that's TikTok or, again, there's YouTube Shorts. It's going to have some things. Going to have my Twitter and also my Patreon. Those are going to give the best news updates. Twitter is going to kind of just be some generic news updates. Patreon, though, they're going to have some behind the scenes content. It's going to be more for those looking to potentially support the cause that I'm doing here. It would be greatly appreciated. I'm by no means expecting that to happen by any means. There is a free option towards that as well. So even if you just wanted to check out some of the things that I have offered on there and stay up to date because you're not a fan of Twitter. But that's it. Thank you all for watching. I hope to catch you all again very soon, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.